What a weird game that was yesterday. A bizarre game at Hillsborough. And 2-2 between Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol City picking up another away point, but now winless in 7 on the road and having some real struggles away from Ashton Gate. And followed up the disappointing 1-0 defeat away at Coventry at the CBS Arena with a late point at Hillsborough. Two changes from the Coventry City game. Mark Sykes comes in right wing back, I think in place of Hayden Roberts, and Yuhirakawa comes in ahead of Vanis Mehmeti in a front line position. And City stayed with the back three: Viner, McNally, Dickey. McCrorie occupied a left wing back role, with Mark Sykes occupying a right wing back role, and actually had some fruition in an attacking sense. Anyway, Scott Twine, Naki Wells, Yuhirakawa, and obviously Jason Knight and Max Bird in midfield. Sheffield Wednesday, they lost 3-0 away at Ellen Road, and that was on terrestrial TV, wasn't it? And I watched it, and actually I didn't think they were that bad. I don't think it was a 3-0 scoreline. Leeds certainly didn't completely blow the Owls away, but Sheffield Wednesday just lacking that little bit of final third quality. Windass, and then in this game, Ogbo, Gassama, it just didn't quite, Masaba as well, it didn't quite click for them at Ellen Road, but it did click for them yesterday. Well, did for JD Gassama anyway. Start of the game, Bristol City not quite at it in terms of we didn't quite match their tempo, and they looked a little bit slicker in terms of getting the ball up to Masaba, Windass, a dangerous man for Sheffield Wednesday, and Max Lowe in the game. Marvin Johnson on the left hand side. Jan Valery had a few good moments down the right hand side for Sheffield Wednesday, but neither team really felt like too much was going to go their way in attacking sense until there was a brilliant bit of quality from Marvin Johnson in the centre of the park, and well, that sets Sheffield Wednesday away, and ball goes to Jan Valery on the right hand side, and I can accept the bit of quality from Marvin Johnson, but after that it's very easy for Sheffield Wednesday to just work the ball out to the right hand side. Jan Valery puts in a delicious ball in, it's right across the floor, and it's not one of those floaty ones. It's not a kind of put it in the box and hope someone gets on the end of it. It's very precise, and Gassama gets on the end of it, and it puts Sheffield Wednesday ahead in a bit of a nothing sort of game. Neither team really had any sort of clear-cut opportunities up until that point, and that goal comes on minute number 16, where Gassama puts Sheffield Wednesday ahead. And for the rest of the half, it never really felt like Bristol City were fully in the game, and it never really felt like we were going to get back in the game. We didn't show enough intensity. We were too lethargic. We were very pedestrian on the ball, and it didn't really look like we had any sort of urgency or any sort of real, to be completely candid, no idea in terms of what we were trying to do on the ball. We would try to go long to Naki Wells, but when Michael Hector, Deshaun Bernard, two of the Sheffield Wednesday centre backs and a back three, it's going to be hard for Naki Wells to get on the end of anything. And forget trying to be direct up to Naki Wells. We didn't really give him much support with Hirakawa or Twine or Knight or McCrorie, whoever it was. Didn't really have any sort of rhythm in terms of what we were trying to do from an attacking perspective, and that was ultimately a massive disappointment in the first half. You'd have hoped it changed second half, but up until our first goal, it didn't really look like too much had changed. We did get better in the second half. We had 65% of possession and only 50% of the possession in the first half, but it never really felt like there was any sort of rhythm in the game, kind of build up of pressure that was eventually going to lead to a big chance or a goal. And then it's a brilliant ball by Rob Dickey, minute number 51, and Rob Dickey plays a brilliant ball to Mark Sykes, identical to the goal away at Preston North. Then Mark Sykes down the right hand side puts it into a very dangerous area. Naki Wells is there, diving header into the back of the net. It is almost a carbon copy, apart from this one. Naki Wells kind of dives at it rather than just kind of placing it into the goal. Past James Beadle, no chance for him, and you're back in the game away from home at that point. You've scored a goal kind of against the run of play, sort of. Not Sheffield Wednesday weren't threatening much, but we weren't threatening much either. And I just kind of felt like, okay, this is the opportunity now to go and try and win the game. But then to concede literally 2 minutes after through Deshaun Bernard, where Jason Knight, I think it's Jason Knight from my memories, not deceiving me, gets fouled in the middle of the pitch quite obviously, and it's really, 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 really obvious, and the referee completely misses it. and Knight gets fouled. Ball goes up to Sean Bernard, who takes a brilliant first touch, beats his man, and then places it in the far corner. And the centre back scores a pretty brilliant goal that even a striker would be proud of. But that shouldn't have happened because there was a foul in the middle of the pitch. But to be fair to this group of players, they don't really give up too much. Too much. There have been some shoddy away performances where it's looked like we've just given up. But the character in this group has been pretty good. There have been a few comeback sort of points, wins. There have also been a lot of games where we've let go of leads. But yeah, despite that, we eventually, up until I'd say about the 70th minute, then we took control of the game. After that, after a goal for Wednesday on 53, up until about the 70th minute, again, it looked like both sides were just going to try and. It didn't really look like any side was going to get a third goal in the game, and or fourth goal in the game, and it just felt a little bit lethargic from both sides. And then a triple sub for Bristol City. Sam Bell, Anas Mehdi, and George Earthy came on. Scott Twine, Naki Wells, Yuhrakawa came off on 63. I said a bit like clockwork on Twitter, and it kind of does feel like it because it's very predictable as in when the substitutions will occur. It's not really any different. We rarely ever change formation unless it's kind of injury related. I think the last time that happened was Preston away, where we had to try to change formation mid game because of an injury. Williams and Tanner on that day, but it never really feels like we change a system. We might change how we kind of do stuff in game a little bit, like minor tweaks, but never really feels like there are any major tweaks to try and influence the game. And it's a triple sub. It's literally like for like. Naki Wells though, good goal, worked hard, fed off scraps a lot of yesterday. Sam Bell comes on, you know what you're gonna get him with him, bit of pace, bit of energy, and did provide that. Earthy I thought looked good when he came on. Actually looked pretty decent. Lost the ball on a couple of occasions, but apart from that, pretty decent sub cameo. As Mehdi actually showed a lot of quality. He might have kind of drifted inside a lot of times and led a lot of counter attacks when we needed him. And then a period of sustained pressure where we just kept getting the ball in some really decent areas, and Mark Sykes in particular, Ross McCrorie on the other side as well, kept getting in some really good areas up against, I think it was Marvin Johnson at that point, because Liam Palmer moved into midfield because Shea Charles went off at half time. And he just got in some really good areas, and Mark Sykes kept putting some good balls in. He beat his man, and then for the goal on 86, he beats his man kind of twice, puts a ball in, that's cleared away by Deshaun Bernard, not very well, and then Luke McNally looping header back into the danger zone, and Ross McCrorie's there to head it in for the equaliser, and it just felt like, okay, 86, Sheffield Wednesday look completely down and out here because they've not been able to get out their own half practically for 20-25 minutes of this game. Can we then now go and take the 3 points? And with 7 minutes of added time, with us being what it looked like us being the team on the ascendancy, with more energy, with more sort of positive impact from the substitutions that we'd made in the second half, it looked like maybe can we now go and win this game? Didn't quite happen. Sam Bell hit the bar really unluckily. James Beadle was quite good in terms of slowing things down for Wednesday. But I think what has got a lot of people is the double substitution on minute number 91. It's got me as well. Is Hayden Roberts and George Tanner coming in for Ross McCrorie and Mark Sykes, changing the wing backs, where it just felt like Mark Sykes and Ross McCrorie, particularly Mark Sykes, just got into the game. I know Mark Sykes got an assist much earlier in the game, 51 for the first goal, but it felt like they were getting in so many good areas, getting isolated against it would have been Valentin late in the second half, and Marvin Johnson and Max Lowe and Deshaun Bernard on the other side. But it just felt like they were getting isolated up against the wing backs, and it felt like we had a lot of attacking kind of, we were bearing a lot of fruit from that, and to just kind of erase that. And despite Hayden Roberts and George Tanner being good players, George Tanner, very good, pretty good defensively, doesn't offer you as much going forward as Mark Sykes. Maybe not the same level of kind of dribbling or the ability to take a man on, or just being direct. Hayden Roberts has looked iffy this season, and straight from his first involvement in the game, can't control a very, very simple ball to him and it goes out of play. Those are the sort of things where you just kind of go, did you really need to do that? I know Mark Sykes is coming back from injury, and Ross McCrorie's kind of, have to be careful with him, but he only had about 6 minutes left. Just keep him on, try and win the game. We'd have probably more likely created a bigger chance when when McCrorie and Sykes were on the pitch compared to Roberts and Tanner. Just my opinion. Maybe probably should have kept them on the pitch, but that's how it's ended. And honestly, considering we were in 2 losing positions in difficult moments in the game, away at a difficult ground where Sheffield Wednesday have been in good form recently. It's not the worst point in the world at all, is it? But it just leaves a kind of sense of what if this doesn't happen, or what if we don't concede that silly goal or the referee sees there's an obvious foul in the middle of the pitch. What ifs? There seems to be a lot of what ifs that are not going for us at the moment, and that's a real kind of gripe and unfortunate kind of set of circumstances that we're kind of going into. But it's a point away from home, no wins in 7. If we're going to mount a real playoff push, you tell me if we're in a playoff push. It feels like maybe we need to improve that and start that with I think it's Oxford, our next away game. If we can go there and put in a win, put in a performance, get a win, get ourselves moving away from home, and then back that up with even pretty decent home form. I know it's been very good recently, but even pretty decent home form at Ashton Gate will be enough to start accumulating points at a faster rate than we have been doing recently. And again, some of these draws away from home, thinking particularly Plymouth, Stoke, where we're either in the ascendancy or been in pretty commanding situations in the game. We've not been able to get the 3 points and ended up with 1, or even some games where we've been in the ascendancy again or in commandable positions and we've just not seen it out. Even Ashton Gate, QPR, I'm thinking that inability to then go and really be ruthless is what we're missing at the moment, and that's honestly, that's probably why we're not in the top 6 at the moment, and why we're not in with a real shout of getting in there this season. But we're still in there. We're only 4 points off Blackburn, who are next up for Bristol City, and it feels like another pretty big game. This felt like a big game. Coventry felt like a big game. Blackburn, it's a humongous game, and we could close the gap to Blackburn, who are in 6th, to just 1 point.